In software development, the code that we write is a liability. But wait, David, that's like saying the branches on a bonsai tree are a liability, not an asset. Yes, exactly. But isn't that what the whole thing's about? The branches on a tree or the code that we write? Well, maybe. Maybe they are an asset, but if you only think of them as an asset, then that might lead to behavior that is not very good in the long run. Hello, my name is David, and you're watching a series where I talk about software development while working on my bonsai trees and on my pre-bonsai. What you see here is one of my more refined trees, but it is not done yet. It needs another 3 to maybe 5 years until it hopefully looks like how I imagine it. But right now, most of the primary branches are in place. I will remove some of those branches later, but I will keep most of what you see here. And now I'm working on the fine branching structure and on creating pads. And for that, I need more branches here. And to stimulate new growth and to stimulate more ramification, I will remove most of the growing tips of the branches that you see here now. So I've just said that branches are a liability, not an asset. What do I mean by that? Every branch that I have here needs maintenance. I have to take care of them. I have to make sure that they thrive. And I also have to make sure that they don't negatively impact other parts of the tree. So I have to make sure that they don't shade out other parts of the tree, and that the energy balance in the tree, the overall energy balance, is so that all of the tree can grow and not only the upper branches. And because of that, the more branches I have, the more I have to take care of them. Also, plucking those little growing tips gets more and more work the more the tree grows. But it is true, the branches are an asset too. They are what makes the whole design of the tree. Without those branches, there would not be a tree. Without this fine structure, there could not be any future paths here. So I need those branches, but if I think of them only as an asset and not as a liability, that might lead to wrong design decisions or to wrong decisions overall. I might keep branches that I don't need for the design, and that will ultimately weaken the tree and destroy my design. And we have the same with source code. There are companies who see all the source code that they've written as an asset, as an investment. I've been at companies where writing source code was always deemed to be capex, to be an investment that will earn money back later. The problem here is that those companies often treat source code as something sacred, as something that you cannot touch anymore, that will be kept, has to be cared for. The problem with that approach is that even when better design alternatives arise, those companies sometimes don't take them because they cling too much to their old code, to their old designs. Also, in those companies, they often treat software development as a means to create new code as quickly as possible, to create new features as quickly as possible. This creates more code, more problems down the line, especially when you create features where you don't really know whether they are needed or not. So if you have a very plan-driven approach and are working in a software factory where the job of the developers is just to execute those plans and to create the code as quickly as possible, you're usually not creating valuable software. Companies that treat code only as an asset try to create code at the fastest possible ways. They are trying to find ways to create more code faster by utilizing their team members more, or by using AI, or by using low-code platforms or whatever. But there's a couple of problems with that. First, when you create code faster than you can learn, you just create problems down the line. When you create code faster than you can learn, then you will definitely create features that nobody is using, but you still have to care for the code you wrote, or you have to remove it. So you're creating more work down the line for something that is not needed. And secondly, if you try to create code at the fastest possible pace, when you try to always have full utilization of your teams, of your software developers, of your testers, then you create a system where the slightest disturbance will cause huge delays. Because a team that is fully utilized cannot react to any problem in time because they are fully utilized. I will now finish plugging the growing tips here in this tree and work on the ramification. But I also know that every branch, every twig that I create here is a liability, and that I will have to remove a lot of them at a later point when I'm working on the pads or when I'm working on new deadwood features somewhere in the tree. In software development, we have a similar thing. The code that we write is the essence of everything we do, but when we only treat the code as an asset, then this leads to bad behavior. The code that we write is mostly a liability. We have to care for it for a long time. We have to maintain it. And every design decision that we take now, every line of code that we write now, might impede our progress in the future. That means we have to try to find a design with as little code as possible, just as we have to try to find a design for the tree with as little branches as possible. And then we also have to remove parts of the design that are not working anymore. How is this in your project? Are you working in a so-called feature factory where your job is to crank out code as quickly as possible? How is this working for you? And do you think it can work forever? Or are you in a project where code is treated as a liability and where you try to minimize and optimize it as much as possible? Tell me in the comments, and if you like content like that, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and also turn on the notifications. That helps me a lot with the algorithm. I'm David, and I'll see you next time when I work on my trees while talking about software development.